Howdy, I'm Kyle. You're tuned back into the current. We're talking another gear in the garage. Today, we're talking my review of Dobyns Rods. I've been using Dobyns Rods for about 2 years now. I've got a selection of rods across multiple of their series, from rods that range around $100 to rods that are in the 200 mark. Um, from my perspective and my general review after the past 2 years, in the bang for the buck category, Dobyns is providing a fantastic option for bass fishermen. Their rods are versatile. They also have rods that are very much purpose driven. I have rods that range from heavy rods for flipping to rods that are specific to cranking. And I have rods, like I mentioned, in the price range of $100 up to the 200 plus mark. So after 2 years, I've caught a lot of fish on them, casted them a lot more than I've caught fish on, and we're going to talk through the rods that I've experienced and my general feedback again on that price comparison, on the warranty, on the customer service, where I buy my rods, and where you can buy them right now. So first off, this is the first rod that I purchased from Dobyns. It's from the Dobyns Fury series. This is the FR703SF. It's a 7-foot, rated for 8 to 17 pounds and 3/16 to 5/8 ounce baits. It's medium, fast action, and I would consider this, again, in that bang for the buck category. That Fury series, I'll go through those rods first. The Fury series, you're gonna get the most bang for your buck. These rods range from, I want to say it's $120 to $140. In that category, there's not a lot of comparison. Well, there is a lot of comparison, but there's not a lot of comparison with the quality and the warranty that you're going to get with this rod. I have personally brought, we'll go through one of them and I'll talk through how my warranty experience worked, but I have personally replaced these rods with no issue, and I've actually only had to replace one in the past 2 years. All 7 of my Dobyns rods, one has broken. It was not my fault. Yeah, that wasn't my fault. So first off, that 7-foot medium fast action Dobyns Fury. It's been a great rod. I've got a jerkbait on here now, but I throw all kinds of stuff on this. Shaky head, Ned rig, little tiny jigs, top water. It really is a great versatile rod. Go with another Fury series rod. This was one of my first swimbait specific rods. This is another Fury series rod. It's the 7.9, the FR795B. Again, Dobyns Fury. It's rated for 15 to 30 pound line and 1 to 5 ounce baits. It's medium heavy, fast action. It doesn't have any cork. The full foam grip. Definitely, made for swim baits, glide baits. I throw the A-rig on this as well, or the larger A-rig actually. I have a different rod that I throw smaller swim baits, smaller A-rigs on. But this rod was my intro into a decent swim bait rod. I'd call it decent. If you are throwing some bigger baits, I'd say it's a pretty stiff rod. I'm throwing like the mag draft is even kind of small on this as an example, like the regular, I think it's the 7-inch or the 6-inch. I'm throwing more of my glide baits on here, like a Chad Shad is great with this rod, and any of those like 2 to 4 ounce, like that's the sweet spot in my opinion. But again, this rod I want to say was $140. I've got it paired up with the Curado 301, and yeah, it's well balanced. It's a little on the heavy side, and I personally like cork better than I do foam. But for the bang for the buck, once again, it's hard to beat that rod. Next up, I personally love flipping and punching. So this was my first flipping punching specific rod. This is the 8-foot Dobyns Fury. Once again, we're going through the Furies. The FR 805 FR 805 flip punch. It's an 8-foot rod. It's rated for 15 to 30 pound line, 3/8 to 2.5 ounce baits. It's a heavy flip, fast action. I would not call this fast action. It is an absolute broomstick. Sure, yeah, you could call fast a broomstick, but the entire rod it's really solid. I mean, it's got a ton of backbone. I mean, it's like up here almost, like all the way through from, the first guide all the way up to like the fourth guide. It is stiff. I'm usually using this when I'm punching or flipping, like I said, like heavy stuff. It's got to be at least like 1/2 ounce is even kind of small, 3/4 ounce up to like 1.5 ounce when you're punching. It was a great rod. I would say it's on the heavier side, but if you want to flip and punch, this gets the job done really well. But if you want comfort, I'd say it's like I said, a little heavy. And I've gone with a different rod in recent. The one thing I really like about the Fury series, all but the swimbait rods have cork, at least as part of the setup for the handle. The butt length is really good on all of them. I think they thought that part through really well. And this was one of the rods. This is the rod that I replaced. I buy a lot of my stuff locally at a place called Green Top. It's here in Central Virginia, and I was able to actually come in with the broken rod, swap it out for the other rod. They had one on site, the same exact setup as my old one. This is a swap for swap, and I think it was $50 to replace it. But on site, I was able to swap and get it back. Most rod companies that I've dealt with, you have to send it back first. They evaluate it, and then they send you something new. Or they have just some super in-depth process that's not simple. And for me, like, if customer service is not great, if your experience is not great in owning a rod or a product in general, for its entire life cycle, like if you mess up that experience, for me, I might go buy something else, just so I know in the future I'm locked down with the product. Next up, and the last and probably most used of all of my rods, let's see here, where is it? Where is that rod? I think my buddy might have took it. I just fished a tournament this weekend, and I think my friend might have grabbed my other rod. Interesting. Oh no. Wow. You high? Maybe. This is my final and most used Dobyns rod. It's a Dobyns Fury 7.3, it's the FR 733C. This is my go-to spinnerbait rod. I love this rod, and I throw spinnerbait a lot, so that's definitely in its favor. But this is not one I'm considering swapping out. As you can see, it's gotten some really good use, and this is the reason I don't like foam. I mean, it really gets kind of gnarly. At least with cork, you can kind of sand it down, make it look fresh-ish. And I know you can seal your stuff, but I personally don't do that. This rod and reel setup has gotten the most use out of any rods that I own. I caught my PB this year, a 715 in Florida on this with a little half-ounce weedless swim bait. And, you know, from throwing spinner baits, I'll throw top water. I'll throw like a smaller jig, like 1/4 ounce or 3/8 ounce jig on here. But it's a 7.3. It's rated for 10 to 17 pound line, 1/4 ounce to 3/4 ounce bait, and it's a medium heavy, and it's fast action. It is rated well, I would say. And I've got it paired up now with a 151 XG and SLX Shimano. The reel's fine. I'm not rating the reel right now. It does the trick. I've paired this with a Curado before. This rod will probably stay in the arsenal for a long time. And that's the overview of the Fury rods that I have used for the past. All of those rods I've had for at least a year. The last rod we talked about, the 7.3, that bait caster, that I've had for 2 years. The spinning rod, 2 years. Swim bait rod, probably a year and a half, and the flipping rod, probably about a year. All of them have performed really well. The rod that broke on a hook set. It definitely wasn't, maybe I nicked it, maybe I had hit it before, maybe something like that, but it did break without me closing it in a door. I'm not gonna lie about like it was my total fault. It was not. So the experience was straightforward. They made it really easy for me. So bang for the buck, Dobyns Fury. If you're in the market for a rod around $100 and are willing to spend a little over that, Dobyns Fury is definitely one you should consider. I'll go down a step and talk about the Colt Series. I purchased one of these Dobyns Colt. It's a CL743C. It's a 7.3, 10 to 20 pound, 1/4 to 1 ounce, and it's a heavy rod, fast action. I would say that this rod, you can't see it in the rod, but it doesn't have as much backbone as you would expect a heavy rod to have, and it's got more tip. I would call this more of a medium heavy. I was using it as a chatterbait rod. It has a good tip, actually. It's, like I said, not really a heavy rod, and it worked really well as a chatterbait rod. And smaller jigs, half ounce, not in super heavy cover, just flipping like my normal flipping. This rod was, I want to say $100. So bang for the buck. I was just trying to get a new rod that I could throw mainly a jig on, like that smaller jig, and it handled that really well. But I recently replaced this with a Shimano X Pride, a medium heavy glass rod, and I got another jig rod. So now I have my chatterbait rod and a jig rod, and this one's kind of been phased out recently. But at $100 or however much this is, again, I'd say bang for the buck. It's a great rod. Next up, we'll go price as our next. The Dobyns Sierra. This is possibly one of the best frog rods I've ever used. I had 2 seasons in a row where just struggled with getting a hook in a fish with a frog. I swapped out to this rod, and same reel, same line, 50-pound braid. First fish, boom. Second fish, boom. I had like probably a 75%, you know, the hook set to catch ratio with this rod as soon as I started using it. It's a Dobyns Sierra. It is their frog rod, the SA735C. It's a 7.3, 12 to 25 pound rating with a 1/4 to 1.5 ounce, and it's rated as a mag heavy, but it's extra fast. So super deep backbone. This thing, you can crack them, but it's got a tip. It is a really, really fun rod to fish. I use this all season. I kind of swap out the tactics of what I'm using it for, but mainly when there's a frog bite, not mainly. If there's a frog bite, there's a frog on this rod, no question. I also use it as a buzzbait rod and jig rod, flipping some lighter stuff like 1/2 ounce, more like pitching. And as you'll see right now, I got a sea rig on there. And I've got that paired up now with the 201 XG Shimano Curado, and that's with 30-pound braid. I swapped out after frogging and buzzbaiting stopped. We're now in the winter. Sierra, like I mentioned, it's under $200, $170, I want to say. Bang for the buck, if you're okay with spending a little more than the Fury series, like on a similar rod to that, like you need a mag heavy, or you need just a frog rod or a buzzbait rod or light flipping, get that rod. That is one of my favorite heavy rods I've ever used. And finally, we'll go through the last Dobyns rod I've got. It's a Champion XP. This is the DC 704 CB glass rod. It's a 7-foot, rated for 8 to 17 pounds with a 1/4 to 3/4 ounce rating. It's medium, fast action, but it's a glass rod. So I can throw, mostly using this for cranking, some lighter, lipless, great as a flat side rod, medium depth cranking up to like 12 feet, DT6, whatever that is, matching. But light rod, full cork grip, glass. I really enjoy this. I really like this rod as a purpose crankbait rod. I've thrown a jerkbait on it as well. It's a little long for what I like and a little too fast, I think. But if you're looking for a crankbait rod and you're interested in glass rods, this is a really good option. It's a little above $200, but again, another well-built, purpose-built rod. And for a combo here, I really like this combo actually. The Curado 71 HG, it's a smaller profile reel, and it really picks up line fast. Great match for cranking setup. So overall, bang for the buck, Dobyns rods in every category that I've tried, from the $100 rod up to the 200 plus range. Bang for buck is a thumbs up. I would recommend Dobyns to anybody that's getting into bass fishing, maybe thinking about Dobyns, or maybe thinking about a new rod in general. Their warranty, their customer service, their relationship with retailers, from my experience, has been fantastic. I've only had to really deal with customer service or warranty one time. I go to a place that I trust, and they speak highly of Dobyns, so that's a positive on my side. I mean, they recommended Dobyns to me. So clearly they've got backing by their dealers, and their dealers are bass fishermen just like us. Quality, craftsmanship, that goes into that factor of, bang for buck. I'd say what you're getting at each price range is matching to the quality craftsmanship you would expect. The blanks are fantastic. The guides hold up really well. The one qualm I have is the Fury series on the butt section. So it's two parts. It's a cork and then the butt. The cork is right under the reel seat, and then the butt has foam. I assume this is cost cutting, but I don't I don't like the cork or the foam. I don't like the foam as much. And I assume that because the lower tier rod from the Fury series has full foam. That's my only kind of quirk with them. But I think, or I would assume at that price range, you're probably getting a better rod setup or better blank and guides in lieu of the cork or the foam. Yeah, like I said, my favorites of the bunch. This one for sure, that Dobyns Sierra, that's under $200. Very much a purpose-built frog rod, or if you're looking for a frog rod and didn't know it was, this is the deal. That spinnerbait rod, so that's the 7.3 Dobyns Fury, that medium heavy. My other favorite and most used rod of all, for sure. And then those higher grade, that Champion, I really like the glass rod for cranking. And overall, my experience with Dobyns has been great. If you enjoyed or got any tips or inspiration to purchase a Dobyns rod, I'm going to leave the links that potentially make me some money in the description. So if this video inspired you to go purchase one, you can find them in the links below in the bio or in my description. And that will definitely help the channel, and I certainly appreciate that if you found this content helpful. You're tuned back into another Gear in the Garage, and we'll see you next time, hopefully with some fish catching or some gear reviews or maybe a little boat. Until then, see you next time.